PC gaming is amazing. More than any other gaming platform, and I'd personally argue more than even most jobs, PC gaming allows for self-expression. There is something cool about the idea that almost every person who's into PC gaming has their own rig, their own graphics settings, their own preference in how to play. It's a piece of self-expression in the way you prioritize components. It also tells me a bit about how you make your financial choices, your nature regarding how responsible you are. Are you the person who just gets the stuff he absolutely needs to play games at a certain standard? Or are you the person who always has the latest stuff out there, just to get those few extra frames? If you do have the latest and greatest, is that because you have plenty money to spend? Or should you really have kept that money for something else and chosen a more moderate PC build? Are you the guy who always goes for the best graphics because you love the worlds of games, the visions developers realized? Or would you rather lower the settings some so you can keep that preferred frame rate? Maybe 60 is your standard of FPS. Maybe it's 144. Or maybe it's the 360Hz monitor that just got revealed. There really is a greater sense of expression in PC gaming, and that gives you a sense of accomplishment when you finish your rig, when you see those performance metrics. PC gaming gives a sense of pride. I think the amount of comments shitting on console peasants reflects that. It's so easy to tell console gamers that they should stop loving a box of plastic. It doesn't compare to a PC anyway, so why bother arguing with each other? Then again, maybe if somebody criticized your rig, you'd get defensive too. PC gaming definitely has a cost, one that often gets understated, I find. Unless you find illegal sources, like G2A, I personally don't for games. But because of that, PC gamers get to come closest to the vision of developers. Console games are always limited to the same hardware, but PC games, well, they can upscale infinitely depending on your investment. And yet, when I think about PC gaming, I get mixed feelings. PC gaming is amazing, but I get mixed feelings whenever I think about it. To provide a bit of context to you all, I first and foremost consider myself to be a variety gamer, with a history as a console gamer. By that I mean I currently play on any platform. The most important thing is the game. I built my first PC some 6 to 8 years ago. I think I had my last upgrade last year. My current rig has an i5 8600K and a 1070 Ti. 16GB of DDR4 and so on. I think this puts me solidly into the group of PC gamers with an above average PC rig, but not quite top of the line. I think it is important I establish this early on, because what I'm about to say might trigger some more fanatical PC gamers to immediately resort to, well, your PC sucks, rather than to listen to what I am intending to actually tell with this video. My PC doesn't suck, it's actually pretty good. In recent months I've played a lot of PC games, and I've started to upload some of it to this very YouTube channel. The original goal of PC gaming, to me, was to enjoy tools like Shadowplay, so I could easily capture cool gameplay and post it. I've always wanted to post discussion videos like this one, but those were intended to be about the content of games, not about my qualms with PC gaming in general, as I am about to do. So why do I have mixed feelings about PC gaming? I set up my introduction vision of PC gaming to tell you all what PC gaming should be to me, and what I think it is to you. The pinnacle of play, brought to you by your own investment. This is what I expect of PC gaming, and I think that is a very reasonable expectation for me and anyone else who is willing to invest an arm and a leg of themselves, regardless of your financial situation, to experience the best gaming has to offer. But essentially all games I've played on PC that were modern releases have had issues. Something that made these games a hassle to play, rather than the joy they should be. Certainly I still had fun, but that is because I usually play these games with friends, and any game you play with friends is fun. Realistically though, I am quite certain I would have dropped some of these games if they had been single player. Here is a list of games I played through recently. If you can, try to pick the one that doesn't belong. If you picked Half-Life 2, you're correct. If you picked it because it released way earlier than the other games, which you probably did, you picked it for the wrong reason. Out of this list, Half-Life 2 is the only game which hasn't given me grief, because it is the only game that has worked without any caveat, without requiring any workaround. Every other game, especially Gears 5 and Halo the Master Chief Collection, have given me heaps of troubles. These aren't troubles related to hardware either, they are games that were filled with bugs and bad quality of life choices from the moment they launched. I started my Halo Reach in 20-minute series to first list some of these complaints. I expected a day one patch. This never happened, and I instead turned the series into a fun co-op gameplay series, because we've experienced so many bugs and troubles, nobody would want to watch all of those. It would make the videos extremely boring. I'm sure at least a few people immediately had the thought, you should have seen it coming, the MCC also had a trash launch on the Xbox One. And if you're one of those people, well, I was one too. Well before I even bought the game, I told my buddy this game would be buggy, laggy, and have bad design choices by 343. So I knew, but that doesn't make it okay. It should never be okay for games to launch with this many issues. Halo, the biggest Microsoft franchise on the planet, one of the most legendary game franchises ever, should never be a franchise where it is okay to launch in a near unplayable state. And yes, it is that bad. Gears of War, another franchise I have a lot of nostalgia for, of which I replayed the first trilogy, well, essentially every other year, including last year, was a mess. Gears of War 4 was a mess until the launch of Gears 5. Never have I ever experienced that many visual glitches, not only on my end, but especially on my buddy's end. Almost every session was filled with rendering issues and graphical glitches. Gears 5, meanwhile, was riddled with disconnection issues, save game issues, and I don't even want to touch on the horrendous monetization system that they put into it. These are both legendary franchises. Franchises so strong they carried Xbox into becoming relevant. So strong that the Xbox 360 became a competitor to the PlayStation 3, outselling it for a while and making Xbox the favorite brand in America for a very long time, until Microsoft fucked up with the Xbox One. Now, as I have a history with PC gaming, I think I share a common history with many people that RuneScape was my first PC game I really invested time into. I have had a long list of games which have had some issues. This, like it or not, has always been a part of PC gaming. Batman Arkham Knight certainly didn't fly by me, and neither did GTA 4 or Fallout 3, which is essentially still unplayable unless you get the fan mod. Crysis 1 was legendary for ruining hardware and being developed for the future, when really it was just unoptimized. But the funny thing is that games like Crysis and GTA 4 became more playable in time due to sheer growth in hardware power. Investments of dedicated PC gamers overcame the issues and more or less fixed these games. But that just isn't the case with the games I mentioned earlier. No amount of RAM or overclocked GPUs is going to save Halo Reach and Gears 5 from being bad ports. How is it that 343 didn't account for something as simple as making crouching reliable in the MCC on PC? Yeah, it was programmed by Bungie for a controller because of the dead zone of a stick, but it is still 343's responsibility to see what design choices don't fly on a keyboard and mouse. I only named a few games to not make the video too long, but I think that any of you who play PC games regularly can relate to some extent to just how bothersome even starting up a game can be. I think that many of you can relate to the sheer amount of shit ports PC gets. Of course, consoles also get their stinkers. Even recently the control port onto base PS4 and Xbox One was horrendous and essentially unplayable. The frame rate tanked heavily. The game was simply too demanding. But that is one game. One game this generation from a big studio that was notably bad. Meanwhile, the PC gaming experience seems to be riddled with problematic ports. It even made me wonder whether or not it was my hardware. A stupid question to ask since my friends with far better hardware experienced the same issues. But when you get bugs every single play session, you will start to ask yourself that question. And so I played through some older games, of which Half-Life 2 was one. Max Payne 3, Battlefield 3, every single Crysis game. And all of them held up. Every single one of them had some issue. I hate the Rockstar Club for Max Payne, and Battlefield 3 launches from a browser. Crysis 1 isn't optimized well, even now, but really these are nitpicks compared to the quality I felt when I was in-game. All of these games are older, but I consider them to still be graphically impressive and also fairly taxing on the hardware. Especially Max Payne 3 and Crysis 2 and 3. It was a joy to play through them again after some years. This is also the gameplay you've been seeing in the background. 1440p gameplay captured by Shadowplay, which I got to enjoy at a lovely 100 and more FPS. All of which brings me back to my original vision and point. If PC gaming can be so good, why does modern PC gaming feel so bad? It's not resolution or frame rate. I wish they were, at least that problem can be addressed. No, it's just a sheer lack of quality control. It is the result of deadlines that are rushed to meet, putting developers in crunch for extended periods of time. The entire development story behind Anthem is a crime to read, and that game frankly shouldn't have released anywhere near when it did. There is a huge bloat of game stores as well these days, with the Rockstar launcher being there, as well as obviously Origin and your standards like Steam. This makes it very difficult to even find the game you own if it is available on multiple stores. I would much rather play a quality game that's ready rather than an unfinished game that I get early. I will bitch and moan easily about wanting Halo 5 or Half-Life 3 now, but these are obviously satirical complaints, because I don't desire mediocrity. If the point of PC gaming is to realize the developer's vision, let that be exactly what I get to do. And if that means the system requirements are a bit higher than I can achieve, I think I'll settle for 1080p instead of 1440p. At least those problems I can upgrade out of. Until that time, I think I will always have a warm place in my heart for console gaming, where I can just insert my physical disc, start up the game, and know that it will work.
You know I walk the walk with a lift.
Thank you for watching. Do subscribe, comment, like, you name it. I will get to work on Halo Reach Part 5 sometime soon. These recent parts take longer to make because the intensity of the editing is ramped up considerably. I do work full time now, so my energy and free time is limited. Thank you for your patience.